Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jean Wallace. I'm the Deputy Commissioner and Chief Engineer from the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and I also have the honor of serving as Vice Chair of AASHTO's Committee on Performance-Based Management. On behalf of our Committee on Performance-Based Management Chair, Christos Sidafantos, and the entire CPBM leadership team, I would like to warmly welcome all the panelists and attendees to today's Transportation Performance Management webinar. The TPM Technical Service Program, or TSP, sponsored by AASHTO in cooperation with the FHWA, is thrilled to sponsor this TPM webinar series. This is actually our 24th bi-monthly webinar, so this happens to be the 4th anniversary of this series, so glad you're all joining us to be a part of it. We aim to support the broad TPM community by sharing lessons learned, ideas, and knowledge with the transportation performance management community. For more information on this webinar series, please visit tpm-portal.com, navigate to Events in the main menu, and then select the TPM webinar series. The AASHTO TPM portal will contain links to today's video and slides, as well as the previous webinar activities. It's a great resource. So with that, we'll get into an overview of today's conference or webinar and the CPBM annual meeting. So today's webinar will provide highlights of the September 20th Improving Safety with Performance Management Peer Exchange. This event took place in conjunction with the AASHTO 2024 Conference on Data Management and Analytics, Planning, and Performance-Based Management, which was held September 17th through the 20th at the Hyatt Regency in St. Louis at the Arch in St. Louis, Missouri. The AASHTO committees participating in the conference included the Committee on Data Management and Analytics, the Committee on Planning, and of course the Committee on Performance-Based Management. CPBM sponsored an annual meeting as part of this event, and materials from the meeting, including a meeting agenda, slides, and notes are all available for viewing and downloading on the TPM portal, and the link is on this slide. So a little bit about the peer exchange, the purpose and the summary of the peer exchange. The purpose of the Improving Safety with Performance Management peer exchange was to discuss safety countermeasures and indicators, examine ways to incorporate safety considerations early in the project scoping and planning efforts, advance the state of safety performance management practices, gain knowledge of available resources, and prioritize future safety performance management initiatives for AASHTO and the FHWA. A copy of the peer exchange summary has been posted to the TPM portal. The direct link is shown on the screen, and you can also visit the peer exchange event page on the portal and download it there. There were 36 states from 36 DOTs from 24 states participated in the peer exchange, representing each of the AASHTO regions, as shown on this slide. The next few slides show a list of the participants and their agencies or organizational affiliations. If your state is represented here, you may want to reach out to your peers to learn more about their experience and learnings from the peer exchange. Other attendees included the FHWA and AASHTO representatives. All right, now let's review the agenda for today's webinar. To start with, we're going to have Charles Meyer with the FHWA. Charles will provide FHWA's perspective on the peer exchange and provide some helpful FHWA resources for safety. Following that, Anna McLaughlin, the Program Director for the Transportation Performance Management Group at AASHTO, will offer AASHTO's perspective on the peer exchange. Next, Lori Richter from Spy Pond Partners will provide a summary of the AASHTO Safety Survey conducted in advance of the event. And then Karen Miller with Missouri DOT will offer highlights from the 9 agency practices featured in the peer exchange. You'll find out how to learn more about these practices on the TPM portal. And after that, Patrick Howley from Utah DOT will provide reflection on the safety project prioritization exercise conducted as part of the peer exchange. And then Kelly Hardy from AASHTO will provide highlights from the subsequent AASHTO Safety Summit, which was held in October. We'll wrap up with a group discussion of the priorities for improving safety performance outcomes. And we'd like you to feel free to enter any questions you may have in the chat, and we'll address them as we go along and respond to them at the end, time permitting. And if we have any questions that we do not answer, we'll respond offline and post them on the TPM Portal event page after the webinar. All right, so let's start the program today. First, we'll hear from the Federal Highway Administration and Charles Meyer and his perspective on this topic. Charles is the safety specialist with FHWA's headquarters Office of Safety. Charles, welcome.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jean. Appreciate that introduction. And as Jean said, I'm Charles Meyer with FHWA, with our Office of Safety. And it was certainly my privilege to be able to attend not only the peer exchange, but the entire week of all of the committee meetings. And I just wanted to provide some of our perspectives and takeaways from specifically the peer exchange itself, but also that week and in the many other sessions that I was able to attend and others from our group. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to AASHTO and to the committees for organizing the conference and specifically the peer exchange. We really appreciate the amount of effort that it takes to put together something like that. And then we also want to extend our thanks to all the attendees and the participants to take the time out of your schedules to be there for that entire week and share all the information that you did, whether it was in the sessions and presentations or the discussion in those sessions, and then specifically at the peer exchange itself on Friday. Thankfully, we had great weather and just a beautiful week there in St. Louis. So hopefully that meant good travel for everyone. Getting a little bit more into the safety peer exchange itself, I also want to acknowledge Lori and all the support you provided to that and the preparation for the peer exchange. And then specifically the states, I think there were 10 that provided some pre-recorded messages of their noteworthy practices in safety performance management and the homework that created for us as attendees. Those recordings, in and of themselves were just great practices for furthering safety performance and safety performance management. So thank you to those 10 states. And then just thank you to those that participated that day and contributed all that they did in those sessions. We had a very well organized event that day, and I know we'll get a little bit more into that, but it really facilitated great discussion. And specifically getting more to what I most importantly took away was that the safety performance management is more than just measures. Measures are certainly important, and we need to continue this discussion of what it is that we're measuring, and are those measurements and metrics really indicative of how we're improving safety? But those measures are part of the whole safety management process. And the day and the work sessions and the exercises that we went through really highlighted many noteworthy practices that you all are undertaking in the states that are focusing on that performance management, and whether that is in the area of policymaking or project selection and delivery, or whether it's for specific infrastructure achievements and installation, or even in terms of communications with stakeholders in the safety community. All of those are really important aspects to furthering safety, and many of the state agencies are focusing on measuring and monitoring those different aspects of delivering safety. Um, what I really took away from that, and hopefully many of you did too, was that we need to be very strategic and methodical about our improving performance and improving safety performance. Um, and it includes all those aspects of delivering safety. Um, there was a lot of discussion about how do we better deliver those projects and those strategies uh, out in the field, because that's ultimately what will lead to safety improvements and lead us to achieving zero fatalities on our transportation system. And there were a number of ideas in the workshops. I was trying to float around to a few of those, but oftentimes just got caught up in the discussion in one of them. Um, but a lot of discussion about how states are undertaking different practices in better delivering those projects. I also want to go back to the opening remarks that were provided by John Nelson of Missouri DOT. What I really took away from that was that he challenged us to communicate what are we achieving, what are we accomplishing, especially in light of the safety performance measures not telling the full story. Thankfully, over the last couple of years, we've seen the number of fatalities, number of serious injuries starting to decline slightly, but we need to celebrate those those improvements. Um, but those measurements are not telling the full story of all the work that state agencies and other agencies are doing. And so we need to tell the story. And Missouri DOT is focusing on what are some of the other accomplishments that they're making that are more of the leading indicators of what will come in the future. Hopefully, and I'm very optimistic that they will with all the work that you're doing. Um, so um, I also just want to say it's really important to us as FHWA and essential for us to hear from you as the state agencies uh, on your challenges, your frustrations, your successes as well when it comes to safety performance management. Um, as many of you know, we're in the middle of actually two rulemakings that relate to safety performance management. One is somewhat indirectly related, and that's the rulemaking on the Highway Safety Improvement Program, or the HSIP, as many of you know it. In that rulemaking, we asked for comments on alternative performance measures and got a few comments related to that. Um, more more directly related was the recent rulemaking on the transportation performance management, all of the performance measures, whether it was PM1, 2, or PM3, so safety, roadway condition, and bridges. And with regard to safety, we received a number of comments, dozens of comments. I cannot remember how many there were, but there were a lot of them. And unfortunately, there was not a lot of consensus to them, which goes to show we all have some work to do in this area. And this rulemaking is helping us do that. So we at FHWA are still in the process of analyzing those comments, determining what different directions to go with those. And you should be seeing some action on that fairly soon. Uh, my apologies, I have to be fairly generic with that, but because we're in the middle of rulemaking, I can't say too much. So I'll leave it at that. But so just in conclusion, I want to say just the continued discussion through the workshop and the peer exchange that we did back in September continues to be very helpful to making sure that safety performance measures are effective and supportive of you in the state agencies and us as a country achieving our goals. So please continue that discussion, continue providing that to your division offices, and as well to myself and others at FHWA, so we can continue to improve that program. With that, I will conclude, and I know Lori is going to show a little bit later here some of the resources that are available regarding safety performance management, and there it is, right on cue. So thank you very much, Lori. And Jean, thank you. I'll turn it back to you, and glad at some point to take any questions or comments when appropriate.
All right. Thank you very much, Charles. Very great summary of a lot of ground that was covered in all areas there. So thank you so much. I don't see any questions in the chat, but maybe I'll just check in with Lori real quick and see if there's anything that I'm missing.
I think we're good to move on.
All right. Thank you. And again, if you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. All right. So next up, we have Anna McLaughlin from AASHTO. Anna is the Program Director for Transportation Program Management in AASHTO. She's the AASHTO staff liaison to the Committee on Performance-Based Management, which we're very fortunate for. And she's responsible for managing the work with the Committee on Planning as well as the Committee on Data Management and Analytics. In this position, Anna provides leadership on AASHTO's policy and technical activities related to transportation performance management, asset management, planning, and data management. And today, Anna will provide AASHTO's perspective on safety, along with some links to AASHTO resources. Anna, welcome.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate the introduction. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. And thanks for making the time to be here with us this afternoon. St. Louis was a great conference, and the peer exchange was kind of the cherry on the top of a really great week of networking, of learning, of exchanging ideas. So I'm happy that we can kind of recap it and spread that information to a broader audience today. So I will say that the peer exchange in St. Louis was one of many efforts that AASHTO has spearheaded in the last few years in this area. One of many, but a very important and impactful one. At the peer exchange, I gave some highlights of AASHTO safety efforts and resources that I want to recap briefly with you all today. We know that safety is at the heart of all the work that DOTs do. And over the last few years, AASHTO has been focusing more and more on safety and how we as an association of all the state DOTs can help our members in this area. As of the end of October, we had our AASHTO's annual meeting was in Philadelphia, and we now have a newly elected AASHTO president, Garrett Eucalito, the commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Garrett's identified safety as one of his presidential emphasis areas for the upcoming year. And his focus is centering safety on every state DOT action. That's for safer communities, safer users, and safer workers. Really taking a broad approach to safety and incorporating it into everything we do. This is continuing our focus on safety. This isn't something new. We have been working on it for years. And it was one of the past President Craig Thompson's emphasis areas as well. We know that improving safety outcomes does not happen in a bubble, right? Safety is not the responsibility of one team or a group within a DOT, and it's not the sole responsibility of one committee here at AASHTO. We have our amazing Committee on Safety that focuses on this area, and they really drill down into it, but it is the work of all of our committees, just like it's the work of all of the DOT, the different divisions within a DOT. Last year was the first year, very excited about this here internally here at AASHTO, was the first year that each of our 31 councils and committees made commitments to tangibly address safety. So safety conversations were happening this past year across all AASHTO committees, from design and materials to operations and active transportation, all of the committees, all of the councils, which is pretty impactful to see, right? That we all have a part to play. AASHTO held its first safety summit in 2024, and we just had our second, nope, that's wrong. We had our first, this is 24. Our first one was in 2023. We just had our second one in Houston this past October. The Safety Summit is all about sharing safety approaches, ideas, and best practices to help us get to zero fatalities. And my colleague Kelly Hardy will be talking more about the Safety Summit later in this webinar. I'm very excited that Kelly was able to join us today. For now, I want to share some resources that AASHTO has developed over the past year, and I want to make sure that you all know about them. We have a bunch of links on slides that will be in the presentation and that will be posted on the web, the TPM portal. And I am going to share my screen so I can do a demo, which is always dangerous, right? With Zoom, so be patient with me. I want to make sure that everyone is seeing this, looks good. And I just wanted to like walk you through these and just show you kind of what we have collected over the past year and what we have available to practitioners. So if you were to go to the AASHTO website, transportation.org, and our TPF on our Transportation Policy Forum, we have a number of different resources. So under resources, we have our safety initiatives. That's going to take you to the different different pieces that we put together. The first one being a board resolution that really was a unanimous commitment from all of the states that yes, we are going to address roadway safety. I mentioned that all of our 31 councils and committees have committed to actually tangible action. Like actually we are doing things, not just like thinking about, but we're actually doing things. We had a peer exchange. During the conference, we had a safety workshop. And so you also can see all of the different items that the committees and councils are committing to. This is one of my personal favorites that I find very helpful, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on, is our case studies. So these were pulled together. I think it's a 40-page document, nope, 30-page of what states are doing right now. What are the best practices? How are states approaching different issues? And so here you can kind of read through some of these and see what they're doing in the District of Columbia or in Florida to deal with these different safety approaches, right? I think one of the things that I have learned here in my time at AASHTO is that we all just want to borrow each other's ideas. How did my neighboring state tackle this idea? How did they come up with a solution? Is that something I could implement in my state, right? And so this is a great resource for that. And we also have our safety action plan, which is a document that really is laying out our approach, our principles, and our strategies as we work on safety on roadway safety. And I just want to there's lots of great information in here that, again, I'm trying to be brief today, so I'm not going to go through the whole safety plan, but it's definitely worth taking a look at. At the end, we have some resources at the end. And one of the things that amazes me that came out of this developing the safety action plan, Kelly and the folks she had working with her, is this online digital resource map. And I just like to get a gist of it. It doesn't really lend itself to a PowerPoint slide, and I really did want to show it today. This is a resource map of all of the current in development and proposed resources in the area of safety through the project life cycle. So from planning to project development through operations and maintenance, we have identified all these different resources, both existing, like I said, in development, and what are some other things that we could be developing. So you can look, and they're in different stages within here. So you can kind of look, we know we have a ton of FHWA resources and AASHTO standards, and we have international resources. we have tons of NCHRP research projects that are currently happening in the area of safety. I think part of this is like really the goal here was bringing this whole wealth of information together so that folks know what's out there and what's available. It's a lot, I'll give you that, and it's a little overwhelming if you're just kind of looking at it, but it is really worth poking around to see what existing resources are out there, especially, you know, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to be able to like capture best practices and what are other states doing, what resources are available to me. So I just wanted to quickly point this out. These links are going to, these are all in the PowerPoint. I'm going to stop sharing so you can put the links up. And these are in the PowerPoint presentation. They will be posted on the website, on the TPM portal for folks to have access to. And I am happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. Thanks for the links, Lori. And if anyone has any questions or thoughts, feel free to reach out to me. Jean, back to you.
Anna, thanks so much. It's really helpful, I think, to see all of those resources, all that information in one place. So I appreciate the effort that went into that. Thank you. And thanks for your presentation. I don't think we have any questions at the moment.
No question.
Appreciate all right, thanks, Lori. Appreciate all these resources too. All right, thanks so much, Anna. And next up is Lori Richter. Lori's a senior business analyst with Spy Pond Partners, and she's here today to share the results from the AASHTO Safety Survey. Lori, take it away.
So I'm going to be doing double duty here. Trying
Yes, I know you've got
to
many
move the
hats on today.
slides and also speak. So we'll see how I do. All right, so a little bit about the purpose of the survey. So this survey was really put together to gain some insights, first of all, into the current state of transportation safety practices, along with challenges as well, and then opportunities for improvement. And the survey was definitely an input to the peer exchange, where we shared an overview of the findings, trends, existing issues, as well as noteworthy practices and learnings. As you can see on the slide, we did receive 41 individual responses from each of the AASHTO regions. Now, just a quarter over those responses were anonymous. We did provide that as an option for folks. Note that we did mine the open-ended responses that we got to noteworthy practices for potential agency videos that Karen will be discussing next. So a little context here. So here's a map that shows some just quick context for the survey. As I'm sure you know, some state highway safety offices are located within the state DOT and others are separate entities. This map shows the breakdown, which is approximately half and half within the DOT versus outside of the DOT. We did ask for survey respondents to provide information on their agency's safety trends as well as maturity. And it was interesting. It was relatively evenly split between performance trending in a positive direction, so fewer fatalities and serious injuries, those holding steady and those getting worse. And then in addition to that, most agencies, as you can see on the right on this slide, most agencies indicated that their agencies are at a medium safety performance maturity level, so room to improve. We asked about data sources that are used for safety, and that's beyond crash data sets. So the most common other type used was related to transportation modes, and that was followed by population data, economic information, and then there was a catch-all for other where folks provided open-ended responses, and those included HSM data, health data, ADT, and roadway asset data. Followed by weather data. Less than 10% of folks who responded to the survey indicated that they do not use any other data beyond crash data. Next, we asked about implementation challenges. And so the biggest safety initiative implementation challenge cited was capital funds for implementation, followed by external partnerships and public support. And that was then followed by maintenance funds. So funding came up a couple of times in the responses. And of the options that were provided, the least challenging aspect of implementation was data and tools. And then finally, we asked about addressing risk and resilience. And so almost 9 out of 10 states that responded are including safety considerations in their other planning documents, as you can see from the screen here. So we've got the R&R, the State Highway Safety Plan, HSP, vulnerable road users, and so on. Nearly 8 out of 10 are prioritizing funding for safety solutions. Nearly 3/4 are mitigating impacts on vulnerable road users. Less than 10% are not doing any of these things. However, several did cite other types of activities, including the systematic safety improvements to intersections and segments, and also updating their state highway safety plan to include more safety risk factors. So again, very useful survey, both in terms of developing the peer exchange, in terms of finding out noteworthy practices to share. And then we did also provide this information so that it can be used more broadly by AASHTO in the future. That's all I've got, Jean.
All right. Thanks so much, Lori. Very informative, and it was a good place for us to start from with the peer exchange. All right. Any questions for Lori? Not seeing any in the chat. And Lori, thank you for putting on the presenter hat for a moment or two. And next up is Karen Miller from our conference host state, Missouri DOT. Karen is an organizational performance specialist with Missouri DOT, and also we're very pleased she serves as our secretary for the AASHTO Committee on Performance-Based Management. So today's Karen is going to provide an overview of the agency practices that were featured as part of the peer exchange. Karen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Thanks, Karen.
So we all know what it's like to get invited to various events and then having to make the tough decision on what to attend. So we wanted to make this peer exchange as interactive as possible for the attendees, but also ensure the safety experts could share the excitement around what is happening at their agencies, whether or not they could attend. So some of the states, as you saw from Lori's presentation, had the opportunity to share by video some of the things that they had indicated in their survey. So I want y'all to stop. And that was a pregnant pause on purpose, because that usually gets people's attention if you put a little silence in there. So I want you to stop what you're doing. Listen closely to these video highlights to identify which ones pique your interest. Then plan to watch them later, make a note, or forward some of them to others that would be interested in your agency, as that is the whole goal of a peer exchange, is to learn from each other, just like what Anna was referring to before. So let's get started with some highlights from the videos and note which ones you want to watch later. So Utah DOT's 4 regions and local agencies submit ideas for the HSIP, for the Highway Safety Improvement Plan. Ideas are scored by benefit cost ratio, ranking, and awarding. One exciting demonstration shared in the video is a UDOT and Utah DOT story map on roadway lane departure crashes, which is the highest issue for their state. Check out their safety benefit map, which shows the BCA for rumble strips, the benefit cost analysis. Next was Oklahoma DOT's public education campaign, which is Make It Home Safe, Make Oklahoma Safe. They have a fantastic work zone safety and first responder online course, which teen drivers are required to complete before they can get their license. I think this is an exciting trend. I think it's going to be interesting to see how much of an impact, because we know young drivers have a huge impact on our crash rates. So check that out. There were many other highway safety efforts featured in the Oklahoma DOT video. Indiana DOT's Safety Performance Management Program is based on leadership, assessment, and mitigation using innovative tools and techniques. Using vehicle sensor data for safety assessments, as well as AI integration with vehicle sensor data for incident management, are some of the innovations demonstrated. And the one phrase I got out of this one that I really liked was, our vehicles know more about our roadway systems than we know. And we all know what a challenge that is to manage big data and to get it all. But Indiana DOT is doing it, so watch that video. Kansas DOT shared their holistic approach to safety. Their video was jam-packed full of a ton of information. One thing that stood out to me was their partnership and outreach to stakeholders, as well as encouraging a safety culture, and then their brand awareness with their Drive to Zero initiative. Check out their Fans with a Plan social media campaign. And of course, near and dear to my heart, Missouri DOT took the Federal Highway Safe System approach and integrated it into the day-to-day processes with the SAFER tool. SAFER meaning safety assessment for every roadway user. This tool is a checklist of questions to answer on every project, not just safety projects, but every single project in the scoping and estimating phase. This tool has already produced amazing results. For example, a 50% increase of the STIP projects that now include safety from just a year ago. So watch the video and see if there's anything you can glean to apply to your practices. Georgia DOT demonstrated many examples of what they are doing to engage partners across the state to optimize project delivery. Through shifting from a complaint-driven to a systemic approach, and through proactively assessing safety. So one thing that stood out to me was their rural active transportation plan. And I couldn't get past rural and active transportation. Those two words just didn't go together for me. So I'm just like, wow, rural active transportation plan. Michigan DOT took the Federal Highway Safe System approach and customized it to an enhanced safe system approach with the theme, we need to get more comfortable making drivers uncomfortable. So for example, don't just accommodate human mistakes, but rather predict and compensate for human mistakes. Focus on what can be controlled, influenced, and measured. Ask why. Why? So watch their video for some of the strategies they implemented with this enhanced approach. So Texas DOT showcased employee safety. I love this twist as who's more important than our fellow employees? Managing risk at an enterprise level provides new insights as Texas DOT reviews risks proactively. Where risk management and performance management intersect, there is a blend of safety and efficiency. They have work group facilitation sessions. So these are division and district employees where ideas are tested and refined to turn into actionable items. So watch the video to get more information on this, see an example of how they analyzed and mitigated an issue. And then Arizona DOT showcased the use of drones in an RSA, a road safety assessment, which was requested by the National Park Service. It was amazing to view what could be seen from a drone perspective versus on the ground. Not just the long lines of cars, but also the number of pedestrians and their interactions with the vehicles, those pulled off to the side of the road, etc. Many safety issues were identified in the short 20 minutes of recordings they took at various locations. If you'll go to the next slide. So here's the link to all the videos, as well as everything that happened with this peer exchange. And then if you go through the next 2 slides, I'm not going to read all these. Here's just a highlight of some of the key components that were shared through these videos. So when I first started talking, I asked you to stop. And again, pregnant pause, stop what you're doing, listen, and Lori's now going to play a very brief summary of these videos. Make note of what you want to watch later, as I promise you will find something of interest.
I am excited and honored to be here today to talk about the Texas Department of Transportation with my colleague, Jim Padilla. I'm going to hand it over to Jim to introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Jim Padilla, and I lead the Transportation Performance Management Program. Both of our programs, Enterprise Risk Prevention Management and Transportation Performance Management, are branches of TxDOT's Strategic Initiatives and Innovation Division. We're pleased to have this opportunity to tell you, our peers, a little about how TxDOT is leveraging data to improve employee safety outcomes.
Hello, fellow transportation professionals. My name is Vanessa Spartan, and I'm the Chief of Transportation Safety at Kansas DOT. I hope by the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of some of what that includes at Kansas DOT. This video will highlight Kansas's safety management structure, as well as some of our recent noteworthy practices.
Hello, my name is Garrett Daw, and I'm the Engineer of Traffic and Safety for the Michigan Department of Transportation. What I want to share with you today is not necessarily current practice in Michigan or a policy or anything of that nature, but it's rather a vision or maybe a plan for how we can get more specific with it as to addressing Michigan's traffic and safety issues and making the safe system approach a bit more tangible rather than a philosophy, a little bit more actionable.
My name is Jeff Lewis with the Utah Department of Transportation in the Traffic and Safety Division. I manage the Highway Safety Improvement Program and the crash data for the department. And I am going to be sharing a little bit about performance metrics in UDOT's HSIP program.
Hello, my name is John Nelson with the Missouri Department of Transportation. I'm the State Highway Safety and Traffic Engineer. And today I want to share a little bit about our SAFER tool, a safety assessment for every roadway. You know, like most of the country, Missouri has been battling the ongoing challenge of traffic fatalities and serious injuries.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Hunter, and I am the Managing Director of Asset Management for the Indiana Department of Transportation. Today, I will be sharing a little more information regarding our Safety Performance Management Program. Our program really is a 3-stage process. There are 3 key components that make up our program. The first is leadership, the second is assessment, and the third is mitigation.
Hi, my name is Kelly Roberts, and I manage the safety program with the Georgia Department of Transportation, alongside Ron, the supervisor of the program. Today, we will be discussing our systemic safety countermeasures, as well as our collaborative approaches, which have been allowing us to expedite the delivery of critical safety infrastructure.
Hello, my name's Daniel Oldham. I'm the RSA SHSP Program Manager for ADOT, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to share with you guys our experience with drone technology and how we're able to particularly use it for an RSA in the southwest of our state.
Hello, I am Tara Cullum, Deputy Chief Innovation Officer for the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. I'm excited to talk about the performance measures and strategic initiatives for the department, which are the foundational elements of our commitment to safety for the traveling public. Our first priority is safety on our highways, and with that, to reduce the loss of life on our roads. ODOT uses public education, proven safety features, new technologies, and other improvements to our state highway system to assist in accomplishing this goal.
Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.
So thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time today.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you, and let's keep driving progress together.
Enjoy the rest of the peer exchange.
Thank you for your time today, and please be safe.
Hi.
All right. Great taste for everybody to go watch those videos. Thank you very much, Karen, for the overview. And Lori, thank you for the technical assistance on the videos. So this brings us back to our program. And next up is Patrick Kelly from Utah DOT. Patrick's the Director of Transportation Performance Management at the Utah Department of Transportation. And today he's going to present an overview and reflection on the safety project prioritization exercise that all of the participants at the peer exchange did during the breakout sessions. Patrick, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jean. I appreciate this opportunity to share a little bit more about that exercise. I do want to give some kudos to Lori for her cool under pressure. That was amazing to get that video to work. So thank you, Lori, for your efforts there. This breakout session, we had the opportunity to provide information to have an exercise with some safety projects. And so, Lori, if you could go to the next screen. We know that agencies, they face trade-offs daily, including programming these safety projects. And during this session of the peer exchange, participants prioritize safety projects based on their potential to improve safety outcomes, given a constrained budget. Each table was assigned the same set of 8 potential safety projects. And then using the information and data provided for each project, the tables ranked the projects from 1 to 8, from highest to lowest priority. Groups then reported back on the summary observation and the results. The primary purpose of the exercise was to get our performance management folks thinking about the relationship between safety and other performance objectives like mobility and preservation. Naturally, safety is a primary goal of almost every agency, if not every agency, because it directly impacts the traveling public. But safety needs to interact and align with those other priorities given the limited budgets. For example, asset management ensures reliable infrastructure and safe traveling conditions, and mobility affects the risk of safety-related accidents, and potentially even air quality has an impact on public health. This exercise, while much reduced, tested our participants to consider multiple priorities in recommending a program of projects. To give a little bit of context of the data that we look at within the DOT, this is our strategic direction document, has 3 primary goals that are very similar to those of that we submit for the federal government of our safety or 0 fatalities. We have our asset preservation and improving mobility. This is just a snapshot of some of the 0 fatality metrics. We do both users and employee safety within this index. And those are the 6 measures you can see underneath. But we also look at them individually and say, okay, what's our target for this year to reduce fatalities, reduce crashes, reduce suspected serious injuries? We look at the fatality rate, not just the number of fatalities, because we know that our VMT, our vehicle miles traveled, are going up each year. So it's not about the pure numbers every time, it's about those rates as well, trying to keep them as low as possible. We also have on the next slide metrics for just about everything there is to do with safety. And these are just some highlighted areas where our Department of Public Safety has a crash statistics site, and you can narrow down and map areas based on just about every attribute of a crash. The graphs are fantastic. You can see in the upper right-hand corner here, the pedestrian statistics or some of our vulnerable road users, and then that roadway lane departure crashes that we talked about that Jeff put in his video, that we have the statistics and the data to help drive these decisions. Now, as part of this exercise, all of this was available if you searched for it. It wasn't just handed to people. So if they chose to go look and see this, that's fantastic. But to give you an idea, these are things that we're looking at as well. Each team was given the same set of 8 projects, and this is the data that was given. And you're not meant to read through it, but the idea is a brief description. We had some extra notes for vulnerable road users. We also said, hey, here's the region that this is in, the district that we that has put this safety project forward. We gave a cost. We gave some performance outcomes based on fatalities or safety improvements, and then any extra notes about how long the project was, what it spans, things of that nature. And this was it. This was all that was given to the participants. Like I said, they could go out and search for more information if they wanted to. I believe most of them stuck to this. Now, in the logic process that we use internally, this was described to the group and said, hey, this is how we do it. Now go ahead and rank these. So what we like to do is gather that information from the boots on the ground, from the region personnel, saying, hey, screen these projects, give us a concept and estimate benefit and cost for these projects. Then it goes to central and they do an actual benefit cost ratio based on the crash history, the Highway Safety Manual predictive model, and US RAP estimates. Now, having that benefit cost ratio, it goes into the ranking, and only projects that are above a 1.0 are considered. And in the order of the highest vulnerable road user impact, roadway departures, and then it's the highest benefit cost ratio. We don't default to that. And this is an emphasis that we have in Utah, is to reduce those pedestrian and cyclists, those vulnerable road users, those crashes, and roadway departures, as we have a ton of rural highway and interstate, and know that that's some of the biggest bang for our buck, is to help people stay on the road with some of those safety projects. And then the award comes. We start at the top and start working our way down until they're exhausted. And in this exercise, we can go to the next slide. This exercise, we were given $8 million of budget with $11 million of projects. And so we went through and ranked them. And it was interesting to see they weren't given the benefit cost ratio that you can see on this slide here. But you can see our number 1 rank was about 4th on average. And I don't know if you can toggle between the two real quickly. I'd like to speak to both of those, Lori. We didn't have a consensus number 1. We had one that was very close on the previous screen. It was a 2.2, and that was one of our highest. They didn't know that only a portion of it was HSIP eligible. They didn't have the BCR, but it still ranked relatively high. And they did a pretty good job in keeping in line. One of the amazing things, you can see G, exercise letter G, this project here, turns out to be exactly $3 million. So every other project fit into that $8 million. And so F, where it had lower benefit, because we had that extra money that we could squeeze that project in, it moved up. And our rank, we took this one from way down the list to have a different type of project, those centerline rumble strips. You can see on our list, it was 21st. In this list, it bumped up even higher because of that constraint. And that was pretty much consensus across the board, that everybody came to the same conclusion that we could do all 7 of these projects, maybe in a little different order. Individual table success varied when compared to UDOT's rankings. So here's a few insights and the exercise process and thoughts from our participants. Some groups, they went ahead and estimated a benefit cost ratio by comparing the project cost or impact to other methods to try to come up with a reasonable approximation of that BCR. Specifically, they looked at the vulnerable road users and departures, while other groups prioritized projects based on the number of fatal or serious accidents. Other factors that were considered included budget optimization, which I discussed, to maximize the number of projects into that program, and the project scope. So how long was the project? Which region was it in? Could we balance those projects across the state? And additional data tables noted that it would have been nice to have that actual benefit cost ratio. So that crash modification factor from the Highway Safety Manual, if we could have had that data to calculate a BCR. But also the annual average daily traffic. How many cars does this serve in a day? Is this a high use road? Is this a low use road? That wasn't readily available. And the vehicle miles traveled in that area. So the overall traffic that was expected to experience that safety project. So with this, it wasn't meant to be exhaustive or something that you could necessarily replicate in your states, but it did give an idea of how we in Utah prioritize our projects based on performance metrics, and how identifying those metrics beforehand and having that process helps us to use and balance the conflicting or sometimes different measures of mobility and preservation versus safety as we're prioritizing our projects. So it was a great opportunity to share and to learn from other states and to work with others that are performance management professionals, to get their thoughts and insights on a very specific topic of safety. And it was an extension of what we learned from the states that they're doing to make roads safer, and appreciated the opportunity to participate in this exercise, but also benefit from the insights of others. Jean, back to you.
Patrick, thank you very much for this overview of that exercise. It was a super interesting exercise, and after participating in it, you realize, again, the importance of having accurate data and contextualizing all of that information as well. So I thought it was a great example. So thank you. Thanks again for sharing. Any questions for Patrick?
Nothing in the chat.
All right. Thanks, Lori. All right. So next up, we're going to hear a summary and highlights from the AASHTO Safety Summit that took place back in October. And that information is going to be provided by Kelly Hardy at AASHTO. Kelly serves as the liaison to the Committee on Safety, as well as the Committee on Design's Technical Committee on Roadside Safety. And she also manages the AASHTO Safety Management and Safety Hardware Management Technical Service Programs. Certainly no small feats. and very important work. So with that, Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Jean. And hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on to talk about the Safety Summit. I think there's a lot of common areas of interest in the safety performance measures. So I think the examples in the videos from the peer exchange will be a lot of interest to the safety committee members. And then also I think we have some work to coordinate it on coming up as we're talking about reauthorization policy and things. So a quick overview of the Safety Summit. We had Anna mentioned a little bit about the AASHTO Safety Action Plan and the other resources we have. And kind of building from that, a lot of that came from the Safety Summit in 2023 was sort of an initial step with all of that. And then we had another one this past October. We had a little different approach on some of this planning and organizing the sessions. This time we had, for the whole first day of the summit, the safety committee was kind of the host of the whole event, but we asked individual AASHTO committees to co-host sessions with us so that we could make sure we're covering topics of interest to both sessions from multiple perspectives and not just from the safety committee topics. I think the performance management topic is one of them because I think there are possibly a lot of the safety people would say, you know, we don't care if we can't transfer money on the HSIP program, but that's not, you know, maybe the way all states will look at it when looking at the whole performance management efforts. So it was good to have others, practitioners with other perspectives providing input. In addition, we also had some partner associations co-hosting those sessions too. So we were able to get more of the external input and get a lot of discussion going. We were actually fortunate that a lot of people, those were the first day sessions. Most of the sessions for the rest of the summit were focused, the first day sessions were kind of high level. After that, the sessions were more down at the program level, but we had a lot of the same participants still. So we were able to have multiple perspectives presented in each of the sessions. We did have 44 state DOTs represented. So 44 were represented, and we had, it was about, I think, a 70-30 split between state DOTs and consultants and academics and other government agencies represented. And that was good to get kind of the perspectives from different levels. And the public-private perspective is, the inclusion of those perspectives is really important for the meetings too, since there's a, you know, getting people understanding all the perspectives and on the same page with the goals and direction and things were important. We had 85 different speakers over 2.5 days, so it was a bit of juggling to get everybody organized. But with that though, the focus of all the sessions was on discussion and really the peer exchange. So kind of building from some of the discussions in the safety performance management peer exchange, but also similar discussions. There was a lot of safety conversations in the other AASHTO committee conversations throughout the year as they were having their committee meetings beforehand that we pulled in into the Safety Summit to kind of keep those conversations going, but also just to get a lot of that information out to a wider crowd outside of, you know, the people that might have been participating in the individual committee meetings. So that peer exchange element was a theme that ran through every session. And then kind of the partnerships and collaboration was also there too. We did have a lot of FHWA input. They helped us plan the sessions and provided, you know, a lot of input on states we could call on to ask for brief presentations or to make sure we, you know, prompt them to make sure they're coming to a session and talking, you know, providing their state examples and just helping shape the sessions and things too. And then actually on site at the meeting too, they were kind of a technical resource in all the sessions. So there was a lot of help from FHWA. NHTSA as well helped with a few of the sessions and participated in the sessions and spoke and gave us a lot of details on the resources available from them also. The two sessions that are maybe most directly of interest to this group, we had a session on the first day that was kind of higher level on the planning and performance management topics. And it was kind of the point of that session was to talk about maximizing the safety benefits of projects and programs through planning and programming and funding. And then also the leading talk about leading in process and program measures for effective performance management, which is something we've heard mentioned a few times already in this call, but then also I know it's kind of a focus area of your group. So we did get input from the planning and performance management committee that had some representatives helping us, on a panel in those sessions. And then we had another one the next day that was focused a little bit more at the program level, but on programming. And then we were talking about quick build program, ways to get safety projects out more quickly, delivered more quickly, and then also supporting local agencies and evaluating the impacts of investments. So not just kind of individual projects, but looking at, the safety investments over the past 10 years. We're kind of talking about how to do that kind of, working through that kind of task. That I think was the bulk of it. We had the bulk of what I wanted to mention today. We kind of coming out of it, there's kind of the focus, participants at the end, so they want to keep focusing on data-driven approaches and working across silos within the project and just the DOT agencies and the AASHTO committee structure. And to really get partners with the perspectives from multiple disciplines involved in looking at solutions for projects, and then sharing a lot more on innovative ideas that states are using. And then one specific area was on expanding and tailoring communications activities for specific audiences and more diverse audiences than maybe state might have worked with for a specific project type in the past, I guess, or and so both internal communications in the DOT and without, and on both kind of driver and road user behavior programs, but also on communicating about infrastructure treatment, safety treatments. So we will be planning to probably do more on that at the next safety event, but also we're looking at some of the areas where there was a lot of discussion in all the sessions, and some of them it was kind of clear we need to have more, another webinar on this to continue the conversation, or a series of webinars. There was at this summit we talked in a few different sessions about coordinating with emergency medical service providers to improve safety during incident management, but then also just to improve emergency response times. And I think there's a whole lot more room for information exchange between those two groups. So we talk with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. They have a lot of resources on that we'll want to put some webinars together to get more information out to people and get some more questions answered. There were a lot of questions that, we didn't have time to do everything on that topic, on actually all of them, but so there was a lot more information people were looking for on these topics. And I can answer any questions. We are going to post the posters. We had a poster session with about 50 posters, and we're going to post them on the safety committee website. We're actually building a page, but we'll get those up there with the posters from last year too. And then if you we'll put like the agenda and things up, but if there's any follow-up information on any of the specific sessions that I can help get to you, just reach out. And I think, Jean, that's all I had, but I'd be happy to answer questions if there are any.
Thanks so much, Kelly. Great overview. And I heard nothing but fantastic reviews from our MnDOT representatives who attended the summit. I will say it's prompted some additional discussions even within our own DOT over the past couple of weeks, and thinking about the importance of data and analytics and performance metrics in terms of some of those things like safety response time kind of overlaid with accessibility metrics. So lots of opportunities identified in the discussions. And I think there's even more positive, reinforcement for continuing to do the safety summit in future years too.
Yeah, well, apparently we are, at least for now. Our executive director, the very first thing he said was, welcome to the second annual. So it's annual. So we are actually planning another event September, October next year. We started talking with Tennessee has volunteered to host. We're going to look and see if we can find a facility, and then if we can, we'll do it in Tennessee and then get information out to people on it. But same general time frame, and possibly Tennessee is all we know so far.
Sounds great. All right, well, we look forward to it. Any questions for Kelly?
Nothing in the chat.
All right. Well, thank you again, Kelly. Appreciate your time today. All right. And that brings us to Hannah Park, who is the president and CEO of Spy Pond Partners. Hannah will lead a brief discussion on the final discussion of safety performance management priorities during the peer exchange. And I also have to head to another meeting. So I'll just take this opportunity to briefly say thank you to all of our presenters. Thank you for all of you who are attending today. I hope this was very informative for you, and we hope to see you at the next TPM webinar. And Hannah, I'm going to turn it over to you to wrap up with the final presentation and to close us out for today.
Thank you, Jean. All right, as you all have heard, this was an action-packed peer exchange, and there was a lot of content being shared. But a big part of the peer exchange, as Karen Miller mentioned earlier, was about having dialogue with each other. So after going through all of the things you've seen, what we ended up with was doing a final exercise, and people kind of stayed together in their groups through most of the peer exchange, and we asked each of the groups to kind of step back from what they had learned during the day and to say, okay, now kind of step up and think about it from a national perspective, as well as for you and what you need. But what we want to do is have each group recommend ideas for things that can be carried out at the national level, whether it's through AASHTO, federal highways, or TRB. But what are those things that you yourself probably don't have the control to do on your own from your agency? And come up with the list that you're going to share with the whole group. And so every group did that. And then what we did was, as people were sharing their ideas, we then kind of wrote them up, on Post-it pads. And then when everybody was done, we went and asked everybody to take 3 dots and put them on their favorite ideas. And we said urgent was the red dot, which is we need it now. Green dot for what was something that you felt was going to have the most positive impact. And then regular dots. We might have had 2 regular, I can't remember now. But anyways, what's more important is I would look at the right column of the total votes, and I'm just going to walk through quickly some of the ideas that were shared, and we've kind of organized it by the number of votes that were given. But as you listen to this, I want you to think about how much you agree with the idea. Does it prompt you to think about additional ideas that you think should be on the table? And then the other is, what should be done to advance the idea? So I'm going to walk through the ideas, but then let's circle back and have you guys share some of your reactions to them. So the one that got the most votes was really, I think everyone felt like having peer exchanges where you get to meet each other and share ideas was extremely valuable. People gained a lot from those. And then more specifically, the idea was on the changing the culture around safety so that people understand and really believe and will carry through with the safety actions and behaviors and all of that. So I mean, I think this was kind of the broad changing of culture to recognize how important safety is. So that was by far the the idea that got the most votes. The next two were got 7 votes each, and they were the first one was around better guidance and tools around after action reviews and assessments. You know, people recognize that that's very valuable, and could we have a bit more rigor and guidance on how to do them and how to use them. And then the third idea that also got 7 votes was applying artificial intelligence around safety guidance, that there's a lot of information out there on how to do things. Can we do a better job of applying AI in order to get to the guidance that's the most pertinent and useful given every situation that individuals have to take on a safety activity. Next slide. So then the next 3 were that you see each got 3 votes. Kind of focusing probably, at the AASHTO level on enhanced safety legislation that integrates the big 3 of impaired driving, safety belts, and distracted driving. And then the next one was on the use of telematics data. There were 2 sessions at the conference in St. Louis around telematics data, and there were kind of a lively discussion there. And so I think people were very interested in, can we better use telematics data to make safety improvements and that yield better safety performance. And then the next one was on automated incident detection, getting better knowledge around that topic. And then next, and the next set, the first one, I think is a duplicate of the previous one. And then the next one was getting better understanding of active transportation data and how to use it and how to apply it. And then I think the last item on this list was kind of a way to evaluate the safety resources that are out there and share it with the community so that you all could get somebody, you have a head start to being able to, where should I focus my attention on, and that's going to yield me what I want. And then next slide. I think the next set either had 1s or 0s. So emphasizing performance-based planning and programming, the communications of that, and then the changing culture aspects of that. Sounds like what Kelly was saying about the focus that came out of the safety summit on communication aligns very much with this recommendation. And then I think we covered that system prioritization. And then better leverage and index is existing safety data. So, can we get more value from the safety data that is there? And then I think this is the last set, which is kind of trying to get pictorial relationships. I understood this really to be kind of better visualization so that you can understand how to do things and how safety relates to things and how, just in general, better ways of explaining things through pictures. And then the next one was on looking at non-traditional measures like roadway characteristics and how to predict things. Another idea was on freight safety measures, focusing on that. And then the last one was on driver refresher training and first aid. So these didn't get any votes, but to me, I think we'd love to hear this group's view of what you just heard and what you think are things that resonate the most with you, and if there are some things missing. Anybody want to share? All right, I'm just looking at the list here. If you have, thoughts about, especially about how to implement some of these, please share them with Anna, because those are things that, can go into the actions that CPBM will be taking on in the coming year. All right, let's move on to wrap up the webinar today. All right, so thank you to all of the speakers today. That was a terrific set of knowledge that got shared, and thank you to our audience for joining us. The materials from today's webinars are going to be posted on the TPM portal with the webinar section. We hope you'll be joining additional CPBM events coming up. The final AASHTO CPBM and TPM Technical Service Program quarterly meeting for this year is going to be on December 5th, and it'll be a virtual meeting, so make sure you sign up for that. This is going to be a very special event because we have lined up a CEO panel on critical issues in transportation, kind of looking into the future, what's going to be most important, especially within the TPM context. And we've got current AASHTO President and Commissioner Garrett Ucalito from Connecticut DOT as one of the panelists. We have Carlos Braceras, who's the CEO of Utah DOT, also as a panelist, and we have Marie-Therese Dominguez, the CEO of New York State DOT, as a panelist. So, and in addition, please look in your mail inbox for the fall 2024 TPM newsletter, which is going to be published over the next few weeks. This edition continues the theme of improving safety with performance management, along with a list of upcoming events, resources, and TRB sessions of interest to this community. If you have not already done so, please help us continue supporting this webinar series and other capacity building activities by signing up for the Technical Service Program. We appreciate you joining us today, and we hope to see you next time. Have a great rest of the day, and thank you again to everybody who presented and participated. Bye-bye.